Okay, I know the Pixel 4 is far from the perfect phone. Battery life, screen refreshing, video recording, just the design. I mean, I could go on. But here's the thing. I actually really like using this. You know, I think it's easy on paper when you're looking to buy a phone to just look at the specs and see which one has the best and then buy it. And in a lot of ways, that is a good way to go because you're getting the most for your money. But that's not what I really care about. I care about the overall experience. And that's why, for me, for the most part, I don't use Android full time. It doesn't give me the overall experience that I'm necessarily looking for. But the Pixel is the phone I come back to, not because it has the most features, but because the ones that I care about, it seems to actually do really well. It's not the most flashy, it's pretty subtle, it doesn't have all the newest features, but the ones that it nails, I think it nails really well. I totally see why the Pixel 4 would be disappointing for a lot of people. If you just go like on a feature by feature basis, the Pixel 4 is lacking a lot. But that's not really how I look at these. When I get a new device in, I just start using it. And if there's something that I notice, well, great. The Pixel 4 seems to check the boxes that, for me, I actually care about. And the first one definitely is that screen and face unlock. One major issue I've always had with the Pixel line is their screens have just not been good. But this year, it's different. The screens are much better calibrated, so the color looks a lot more natural, a lot better, and just more accurate, which is something that I think is a big deal. And they have that 90 Hertz refresh rate. This is something that when you pick it up, you immediately notice. But for me, honestly, I forgot about it after 20 minutes. Your eyes just get used to it. Same thing with like the iPad Pro with the 120 Hertz display. It looks great, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really change how you actually use the phone. It just looks really pretty, and it does. I did notice they would clock down to 60 Hertz quite often, but like I said, it's not something that I really care about, so it didn't bother me, but I'm happy that overall the screen is just much better. And then of course you get the face unlock, and I could see how someone would really hate that there's no fingerprint sensor anymore, but since I'm so used to using face unlock on other phones, I actually find this much easier to use and just faster. It works really well, it's fast, and you don't have to swipe or anything to get in, it just automatically unlocks. I like the way it's all set up. Of course, you can do it with your eyes closed and everything. I totally get that it might not be the best face unlock out there, but I like that it's here, and it does work. You also have Project Soli or Motion Sense, which is basically radar. And you know, in theory, this is great technology that has a lot of cool applications, but in practice, I mean, it's kind of underwhelming. Kind of the main benefit right now is that you can like swipe through different songs if you're listening to them without actually touching the phone, and it does work. But the things I'm more interested in is the kind of awareness features. So when I go to reach for the phone, it automatically turns on the screen and starts using that face unlock. Or if I have an alarm going on, I can easily silence it. I mean, it's a cool feature, but honestly, it's one that I just haven't been using. And until there are more ways to actually use it, I don't see that changing. And you know, as I sat back and just kind of looked at this phone, there really wasn't much that stood out to me, whether that's a good thing or bad thing. The internals are fine, it does everything I needed to do. The design is very understated, but then we get to that camera.
Or Joshua Tree National Park.
You know, the camera is the main reason I continuously come back to the Pixel. I just have this thing inside. I feel like I need to have the best camera I can get. And the Pixel 4, for the most part, delivers on that. So, to test it, we are out here in Joshua Tree National Park. It's a little nicer than the normal stuff I usually film. Let's see how this thing performs. Really, the big feature with this camera is that second lens. So you'll be able to do a 2x zoom optically instead of what Google was doing before, which was their enhanced super zoom. And I've always been a fan of the telephoto lens. I've always thought if I had to choose between that or an ultra wide, I would go the telephoto route, but it definitely would have been nice to see both. But besides the extra hardware, I mean, the experience is pretty similar to last year. Most of everything that's going on here has nothing to do with the actual hardware, it's all about that software. And the Pixel has been great at taking photos. What I really notice is just like how much detail and texture you can get from these photos. It looks super sharp, and that's because, I mean, it is. I find the HDR Plus really puts itself to work here. You can see how it's pulling up the shadows and bringing down the highlights. And for me, sometimes it's a little bit aggressive. It's more like it's editing it for me when, for me, I like to edit my own photos. But if you just want a great photo out of the camera, this thing, it does it, at least so far here. Video is one area that's definitely important to me, and the Pixel, it does take great video, but the lack of options, no 24 frames per second, no 60 frames per second in 4K. I mean, these are things that I have come to get used to on other devices, and they're actually features I use a lot. Hopefully with a software update, this can be changed because it's obvious the hardware is capable of it, but it's one of the biggest letdowns with this system. But there's one feature that this does that I'm going to test pretty soon here, astrophotography. I think we need to slow down here for a second. This was taken on a phone with basically no effort from me. All I did was take the camera, I put it on a tripod, and that's all you really have to do. You go into night sight mode, and when it detects that it's still, it will bring up astrophotography mode. And then I just pointed it at the sky, at the subject I wanted to take a picture of, and just let it sit for 4 minutes. And this is the result that you get out of a phone. No real effort needed. All you need is a dark place, and you can get some amazing results. This feature is one of the first in a while that actually blew me away. I was not expecting this. This isn't the phone for everybody. When I'm thinking of a phone to recommend to someone, I don't know if this is necessarily what I would pick. But for something that I personally enjoy, for the features I care about, it does everything really well. It has a great screen, it has face unlock, it has, I think, some of the best software on Android, and of course it has that great camera. There are some weird setbacks in almost every single category that are just kind of weird. They seem like easy fixes and problems that just shouldn't have been there, and that's kind of why I don't think I could necessarily recommend it right off the bat. For the things I think matter most in a phone and the things I care about, the Pixel is great at those. It's not the most well-rounded phone out there, it doesn't have a crazy design or all of the features, and it's definitely not the cheapest. But it's the phone that I continuously enjoy using. It's the phone I actually want to pick up. And I think that says something.